Hi guys, welcome black, but also welcome black. Period. Haven't done this in a while. Hi guys, welcome back to Blunt Blowing Mama podcast. I am here and joined with another Cannamom Roundtable. You guys loved the first two parts of the series so much that I decided to bring it back with two different mamas with two different perspectives. And this time we're talking about psychedelics. We're talking about talking to your kids about plant medicine and how do you talk to healthcare providers, spouse, and family about it. We're going to dive into it, share our own experiences, and hopefully illuminate, because I know this is like one of the FAQs. Like this is one of the things you guys are like, how do you talk to people about this? How do you talk to your kids about this? How do you go about giving your kids this plant medicine? Very taboo conversations, but nothing's too taboo for Blunt Blowing Mama. So I brought some really cool, dope ass mamas to help have this conversation with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself, ladies. Thank you so much for joining the Cannamom Roundtable.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm Angela Stocker, highly Angie on Instagram and, the webs. I am a entrepreneur, comedian, mom, du jour, I do a little bit of everything. I dabble. But I have two kids. They are 4 and 7. And yeah, I'm out here in these Canna streets,
Thank you, Angie. My name is Mikaela. I go by Mama de la Myco on TikTok and IG. My website is themushroom.love. And I have a 3-year-old and just one child, one and done. We'll see.
Famous last words.
And I'm a mushroom educator. I'm literally high just by sitting next to you both right now. Sensitive nervous system baddie. And just really grateful to be bringing mushroom education, the intersection of psychedelics, entheogens, and womb care, body care, femme care. So a holistic practitioner and a femtor. Thank you for having me.
Yay. Yes. Thank you guys so much for joining. Okay, so I feel like, you make the decision to use plants during pregnancy and postpartum, and it's definitely a conversation you have with yourself. Like, I feel like before I even could say to my significant other, the co-parent, like, hey, I want to do this. I'm having this conversation with myself. Like, do I want to do this? How am I going to do this? Why am I doing this? So like bringing serious, deep intention. If I don't have intention, it's like, well, maybe I don't and I can thug it out. But it's like, do I want to thug it out during pregnancy? No. You're like, absolutely not. I'm not thugging nothing. I'm already pregnant.
I need all them fingers and toes to appear.
Yes. Right. And so it's like, okay, so you have that whole internal dialogue with yourself, which I know I did when I decided to consume during pregnancy. But then it's also like, it was kind of a conversation with my co-parent of like, so I'm going to go smoke this joint because I don't feel so good right now. And he was like, I was like, do you want to hit? He was like, no, but you do that. It's okay. And I was just like, really? You sure? You sure? And he was just like, no, like he already understood the medicinal benefits of cannabis. And as a consumer himself, he was just like, girl, if this is going to keep you happy and this is going to make this pregnancy bearable so that you're not down my throat, then like go for it. But like it was that and me making that decision of I'm not going to talk to my doctor about this. I'm not going to talk to any of my medical professionals about this. I just didn't feel comfortable. And having that convo with myself of like, I think I'm okay with not saying anything, but this is because it's my second kid, not my first. I feel like with my first kid, I would have been like, I got to tell somebody. I got questions, I need help. But like knowing what my body can do and having experienced it before, I was like, I don't think I need to consult anybody.
Right.
I'm the consultation. Like I'm the expert of what my body can do right now. So I'm not going to say anything. But sometimes you do want to say something to like your best friend or to your parents or to like, how does that conversation go? How did it go for you guys? Like telling people that like, or did you decide not to tell anybody? I mean, maybe you told your co-parent, right? But like, did you tell anybody else outside of that? Did you, because I was just like, I'm telling him because it's your baby too. And if I'm having, I'll be like, well, I told you. I didn't think anything would, but I just feel like it's the kind thing to do. Like while I'm carrying this baby, like you helped create this child with me. So like I owe the conversation to you. And I owe like your opinion does matter. I will take it into consideration. but I'm still gonna have the final
do what I want.
say. I'm still gonna have the final say. Is that how you guys felt?
For me, like my husband, I mean, he supports me 100% with everything, and I, all my crazy whims and whatever. He knows that I am very, very thorough. Like when I do research, and that coupled with the fact that first pregnancy, I was too scared to do anything. Like I did nothing. I didn't even look at anything. Like I was just like, don't breathe too much. Just let the baby grow. But then once I got into this mom group that had a bunch of like Burning Man moms and just natural holistic moms, it was like, wait a minute. There is a better way. Right. These are my people.
Yeah.
And so, I just started with my second pregnancy, I definitely told, those moms that I consumed. My husband knew, obviously he was fine. And for me, it was something like, it was just nice to have when I had those moments of like, oh God, I have a toddler.
Yes,
I feel like cannabis is good toddler medicine
right now,
sure.
And I am and like, oh God,
like you're gestating a child and you're watching a toddler. There's a special place in hell for that kind of like that. It's like,
that is a special place in hell.
You just needed that extra like something, and so for me, like I was just very. And it was nice to. I didn't realize that I was being intentional, but it was a time in my life. Which I hadn't had before because, as a recreational, I'm just out in these streets, whatever, when I feel like it. I feel like being high right now. Poof, I am. And so for me, like, that was a time when it was like, wait a minute. I just want to smoke because I'm bored. Okay, I don't need to smoke. I'm pregnant. You can't just be out here puffing because you're bored. Just go do something.
And there's something about checking that and being like,
it was nice to have those moments.
It checks the compulsive.
Like,
impulsive.
Just smoking, because you want to, not because like you need to achieve something, or you need you need to balance out your CB1/2 receptors, whatever it is. That's not what you need. You're just bored. So it's nice to be able to have that time to like really know and to be able to hone in and say, okay, this is what I need to get out of this. Will this achieve that? No, then let's look somewhere else.
It's nice when Mama Cannabis calls, because I feel like when I got pregnant, she called me deeply in. She's like, boo-boo, like, I got you. I can help you with things. Like, lean into me if you need me, And like I said, cannabis is great toddler medicine. I feel like called me when I was pregnant, and then called me definitely around the twos, the trying twos, because that was, you know what I mean? Like, there is no reason I needed to be as agitated. They're just exploring their world. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to like get crazy on them, because it's like, they're just little scientists anyway. But as far as, the pregnancy part, I was fortunate enough, I think we've talked about this before, but I had a birth team, because I like went the crunchy route with the pregnancy. I had the clinic, like I had, my Medi-Cal like neighborhood clinic that was also seeing me. And then I was like, maybe there is another way, but I'm a first time mom. So I want to do a side by side. So I did the clinic, and I also went to traditional midwives up the road. And I was like, I was trying to see like how accurate the information was. What was the care like? I wanted to do a comparison, like Coca-Cola, Pepsi challenge, like what is fucking better?
As you should.
What is fucking better? And you know what? The information was accurate. The treatment and the care was just so much better with the traditional midwives. And what I loved about their care was like they chose to build that trust with me. They were like, you can share with us stuff about your mental health, and we're not going to just like write you a script or something. Like, we want to help you excavate what happens, because through pregnancy, there's a lot of unconscious shit that comes up. And so, I opened up to them, and I was like, hey, so, I've been getting called pretty strongly by cannabis, and I have indulged, like, thoughts on that? Is this a friendly space for that kind of conversation? They'd built that rapport with me enough that I felt safe. I didn't share it with the clinic, because they hadn't built that rapport. I was sitting in a, waiting room for 45 minutes to see someone for 15. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it was not time spent together to trust. But they built
and then like, look, you're in my rotation. I got to go to the next one.
It was just not human enough for me. But when I felt like the shared humanity and that understanding, they had plants in space. I was like, so what do you think about cannabis? And she's like, oh, it's great. Oh, and then she gave me a pointer. She was like, if you're going to bring it in, what might be beneficial for you is, instead of smoking it, have an edible, because any lack of oxygen to the baby, whether it's from tobacco, cannabis, or holding your breath.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Sitting by a bonfire, any kind of smoke inhalation or oxygen deprivation is gonna, maybe make a shift. So she's like, just have an edible. And I was like, wow. She's like, I'd rather you, sit with an edible than get something over the counter.
Exactly.
Like, wow, what a gift. So it is possible to talk to a provider, but most providers are not worth talking to.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing is, you got to know, you have to be 1000% sure, because there are consequences. Like for me, the first time around, I knew, I was like, oh, I ain't telling this bitch nothing. Like, she was like, kindergarten teacher, squeaky clean, like, but she was linked with my gyno who was crunchy that I loved. And so it was just, I tried her and I was like, okay, no. Next time I need somebody crunchy who I can kind of talk to. But then this other woman was a little too corporate medicine by the book, like those people. And so it was like, I can't risk.
She was drinking the Kool-Aid.
Exactly. I can't risk having you all up in my shit, like taking my baby after they're born and like, I can't.
Unnecessary trauma.
There's too much on the line.
Yeah. So I think that's something like if you have a normal quote unquote normal pregnancy or like low risk, whatever they call it, definitely something to consider for, like if you're high risk, I don't know. I spook easy. So I'm like, let me just not touch anything for a while.
And on the friends and family tip and telling people, you know what I mean? I think telling people can be one step, but for some folks that are just like in community or spending time with friends and you spark up and they see you're pregnant, like look at their response. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, are they trying to pass judgment? Are they trying to, you know what I mean? Like, or if it's just not even a problem, because there's lots of pregnant mommies or mommies that are breastfeeding that like I look at, I'm like, hey, good. Like get well, you know what I mean? And I just think that, it's going to really show up. Those friends are going to show up in your choices that you make later on in your life as a mom anyway. You know what I mean? Like if they're judging you now for this, maybe they're not the friends to keep around when you're deciding to choose to, bring your child into this,
And that's what I want to get at. Like, what do you do when you're getting judged? Like, have you guys been judged for your choices by family and friends? Like, how are you handling that? And some people even get judged by we're going to talk about family and friends, but some people get judged by their significant other, by their co-parent, by their spouse, like, which is a whole other can of worms, which I haven't experienced. And I don't think you guys have either, but
judged and like also not trusted in their decision.
Not trusted enough in the decision, which is hurtful.
You think I don't care about this?
You think I don't know what I'm doing? You think that but, and I think that that's a hard thing to come up against. Like I desperately needed a mom group when I had my son, because it was just me out here thugging it like I did as a nanny, but I'm like, well, now I'm a mom. So like doing nanny shit ain't working for me. I need people. I need like connection. And I found a couple of great like mom groups. Was trying to get in there. Wasn't quite feeling it, getting judged when I would bring a vape pen or something. Just talking about
Were they saying
things.
stuff, or were they just like giving you looks?
I think it was just more like looks. And I don't even actually, and now that I think about it with my son, I didn't even do anything until he was like 9 months. So I definitely didn't. I was talking about probably like being high previously or something.
You're like, I wish I was high right now.
Or like the vibe, or just saying like, damn, this shit's hard, or whatever it was. They just didn't vibe with me. Wow. And then I found this group of like Burning Man moms who were passing vape pens at the hike and like, hey,
so
let's go
good.
do this. And you're like, wait, I'm not.
You're not alone. You're not a bad mom.
And it makes it easier because then those people were able to educate me in a way that
your people.
Open up, because I'm like, hold up, we got an endocannabinoids.
You guys are sharing knowledge.
Does too.
And it's like, I knew that there was a reason that this is always, and it like opened the door for me to learn so much, because education is really how you broach that with people and how you get in there and really say like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but scientifically speaking, did you know that we have CB1 and CB2 receptors that are specifically, made to match with this plant? And so I think that that's one thing that a lot of people don't know or get into, because that's not what the media wants to show. Nobody wants to. That's not like the hot news, is that your body's made for this plant.
Right.
Go with it. You know?
But that goes with like you made that choice to say, instead of trying to make those people fit your life, instead of being like, I'm still gonna try to be your friend and I'm still gonna, you were just like, bye, like you guys are not my people.
There are plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah, there are plenty of fish in the sea. And I love
See
that
y'all
so many
later.
people will just be like, well, they just don't understand. It's like, maybe you need new friends, boo-boo.
Yeah.
And that's tough to say because that's a lot of work.
And the motherhood
Yes.
journey is already so damn lonely anyway.
And that's the thing I think and I should say, I like, disclaimer, when my mom passed away when I was 23, long before I had kids, I think that really was a call for me to like kind of set me free almost in a way, to just be like, why the fuck would I care what anybody else thinks? You know what I mean? And like sometimes I just cared so much about my mom, not that I was like living for her or anything. Like she's like, you go be a clown, I would love you anyway, whatever. She was wonderful, but I think that there was this part of me that wanted to like just be it, you know, you just kind of want to be a certain way. You don't want to disappoint anybody.
Don't want to disappoint
Totally.
mom.
Yeah. I don't want to have to explain things.
Yeah.
Like
you never grow up to
boundaries.
them anyway. So.
And now like it was so easy for me to set boundaries after, and so easy for me to just say like, fuck that, dude. Life is short. I don't have time for that shit. Like, I just, nope. Okay. And so I think that that's why it was really easy for me to like say like, okay, y'all are cool, wonderful people, love having brunches, but I need connection.
Yeah.
Let me go find
I'm just going to
elsewhere.
stop coming to your group.
Right.
And I brought one friend along with me. She was the one who, you know, she was more of a drinker than weed, but it was like, you are my people.
But you took the cream off the top.
Exactly. Like, I knew it. I knew Bex. I'm like, yes, come on, girl, because let's go.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those, it was an easy decision for me to make, I think, because I have practiced like really setting hard boundaries and just being like, you know, my mom instilled in me, no, don't let anybody like treat you any old kind of way.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody make you feel bad about who you are. And so I think that's something that's always been in the back of my mind is like, if it's not a toxic, you know, kind of thing, then you should really like embrace what is within you and what your body is calling you and your mind is telling you to do in your heart. Just follow that, listen to that. And if it's, you know, calling you towards plants, there is a reason for that.
Yeah.
Like you said, you know, Mother Cannabis called.
She be calling, yeah. and you know, sometimes, and just on the topic of, you know, being judged and raising children and stuff like that, I mean, Mama Cannabis calls to little ones as much as they do adults. I mean, I started smoking weed at 12 and, you know, that's pretty, I don't know, is it young? I'm not sure how young is too young, but I mean, there's children with seizures and all kinds of things and autism, and just Rick Simpson oil is the thing for them, you know, and like, who's to say you're the parent who's administering that? You're a bad parent when you know this is like causing ease and peace in your child. I mean, like, to actually deny them of that, I think is like a harmful thing to do, you know? So it's, you know, thank goodness we are learning enough about the magic, the medicine that is Mama Cannabis in all of her many, many forms, from the clothes to the food. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so multifaceted to say like, oh, cannabis is only for getting high is like, we're missing the point here.
Yes.
Is like a medicine that nurtures in every part of the human system. And like you said, endocannabinoid system being, you know, generated in human bodies because we grew up with cannabis like through our evolution. So why not hit the babies because they're already set for it? And it's interesting because we don't even flash an eyelash at, you know, when babies are given morphine because, you know, they're in the NICU and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, that's a way strong medicine too. But, you know, it's interesting because only certain kinds of people can administer that. But like, because we're moms, right?
We're not qualified.
We're not qualified.
Weird, but I'm qualified to just take this baby for 9 months and birth it. Okay, cool. So it's very interesting and like perfect segue into talking about like giving our kids plant medicine. So I don't talk about this enough. Well, I talk about it sometimes in my stories, but not enough on my podcast and platform overall because I guess I had to like, I was still figuring it out. With my daughter, with my daughter, she had a speech delay.
Oh.
And so she didn't start talking until she was like 4 years old, if you can imagine. And so
she had a lot to think about.
She had a lot. Okay, and now she does not stop. Love you, sis. She does not stop talking. But like decided to give her CBD because I was doing research and I was like, what? What can I do?
Anything.
What?
Yeah.
Anything. And I'm just like, CBD, like, because she would scream and like cry a lot. And I felt like it was frustration because she couldn't say what she wanted to say, but also like anxiety. Maybe her nervous system needed to be calmed down a little bit. I'm like, CBD is great for that.
Yeah.
Among other things, like CBD is like the dopest thing ever for kids. And so I was just like, how can I give it to her? So tinctures, obviously.
Yeah. Great.
I found gummies that were really great. And I was just like, this is it.
Yeah,
like, this is the way. And bit by bit, I started to notice like little changes in her. And I was like, it's the CBD.
Yeah.
And like, while I did not consume during pregnancy or while breastfeeding her, like when she was a toddler, I started giving her CBD.
That's wonderful.
And so I saw that and how it helped her. And then when I had my son, I was like, oh, no brainer. By then I was like already deep in this life. And so I was invested. I was like, I'd done my research and I was just like, I had spoken to other moms who said that they were giving their baby CBD drops on their gums and stuff. And so
we
when
used to do that for Mart when he was teething.
Yep, I was just about to say, when my son started teething and he started teething at that age and he was like getting a little grumpy. And I was like, no, sir, we're all sleeping tonight.
Yep, and before bed. Yep.
And before it's like CBD drops on the gums. I would put it inside of his breast milk and like he would drink it from the bottle. I would give him, then I upped my game when he got a little older, got some CBN, really good quality CBD drops. Yeah. Everybody's going to sleep tonight. Put it in the baby's milk, put it in my daughter who was a toddler at the time, warm up some milk for her, put it in there, had me some CBN, and we're all sleeping.
It's a family vibe.
It was a family vibe. And I was like, thank God for CBD, thank God for CBN, because like that got us through those baby and toddler years. And without that, I don't know, like we would have all lost our damn minds.
For sure.
Like, so I think that that's a little secret that a lot of women don't want to share because of the implications of giving your kids drugs, right? But it's not a drug.
It's food.
I think that's the thing.
It's a supplement.
Exactly. I think that is another thing that people don't realize. Like, I can't even tell you how many times working as a receptionist at a dispensary, people would come in and be like, oh, I didn't even realize that was a thing. I didn't even realize that. Oh, I didn't realize. And I'm like, yeah, like, this is why we need education. Like, because I think that so many people just think like smoking, high, drug,
that's it.
Bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but like, I know we're like lazy stoners, but we're getting shit done. We're isolating cannabinoids over here.
Yes.
You know, we are figuring out how to best use this plant for our bodies and our minds and optimal health. And I think that that's something that gets glossed over and gets forgotten about because CBD was just kind of like, hey, look, everybody. And people are like, it doesn't do anything. Like, what's happening? What? You know, and I think that that's the problem is like, yeah, sometimes you get CBD that's not full spectrum. Maybe it doesn't do anything because it's not the whole plant. And we really have to just get over this, like, THC is so bad. Like, no, just full plant is what we are aiming for, like, to use the whole plant and to really just try and, like, find the best ways to, like, make it work for you. And if that is CBD for you and your children or CBN or, like, the poor kids with seizures and things who need this, like, RSO, it's like they need that high dose and it could save them and their parents are going to jail and, like,
we got videos of, like, seizures just stopping dead in his tracks. I mean, like, how do you argue with that?
Exactly.
And if people are tripping about that, then, like, topical works great too. You know what I mean? If someone that's listening is just like, we got to expand our conception of like what ingesting medicine, being in relationship to medicine is, and coming from like a herbalism background, folk herbalist, you know, it's just weird that weed and cannabis gets like classified as its own thing and not treated as a herb. And cannabis is certainly an herb, just like lavender and chamomile and damiana and every other thing. So, you know, anything that you can do with a chamomile plant you can, enjoy with cannabis. And it's wonderful because chamomile is gentle for kids. They get bathed in it. They have it, you know what I mean? They can make gummies out of it. I'm just like, let's get creative because truly like this is a medicine of creativity as well. And I noticed that my son, he just feels better even if I'm the only one who's faded. And it's just so interesting because it's like he can sense that I'm calm, that I'm still, that I'm peaceful. And I don't always smoke around him, but I mean, if he's downwind, it's like gonna be okay too. But, I just noticed that like he can feel the resonance of the peace that I have. And so if this obsession around, are you giving it to your kids and blah, 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 like we can even move beyond that. Cause the same thing with mushrooms. I think people want to know, how do you dose your kids and how much and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, them just being in the proximity is medicine enough too. You know what I mean? Like in the conversation of it and the air of it and the people around them that imbibe in it. It's just, I feel like the consciousness that is supported by cannabis and supported by psilocybin creates spaces in a different way and creates reactions and responses and conversations in a different way that they receive the benefits of it through our lived actions too.
Right. Yeah. We're not on edge all the time. Like if a baby does something because they're a baby, like the parents, if you're parents who are, partaking in plant medicine in whatever form, you're not sitting here yelling at a toddler like a psycho. Like it really does look crazy to me when I see like a lot of these moms out here yelling at 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds. And I'm like, why are you yelling at a child? They have no idea. I'm actually like, my friend just told me this story, total digression, but it made me so emotional and sad. She's a flight attendant and there was this little girl and the plane was about to take off and she had to use the bathroom. Literally the worst. Like nobody wants to use the bathroom at takeoff. They're like, get in the seat, strap up. We're about to take off. And she like told the pilot like, hey, this little girl's got to go. Escorted her to the bathroom. No idea where her parents were. Escort her to the bathroom. The little girl uses the bathroom. She comes out. My friend who's the flight attendant's like, are you okay? I hope she's okay with me telling this story. But she's like, are you okay? And the little girl's like, yeah, and she goes and like sits down with her mom. Her mom's like, you use that bathroom? Did you wash your hands? Did you sit on the toilet? Like, that is so nasty. You are nasty. You sat on the toilet. And it's like, first of all, your child used the bathroom. Like, so you should say like, I hope you're okay. Like, I'm glad you used the restroom. Like, but.
And great job. Like,
great job doing
You're
it by yourself.
You're so grown. That's amazing.
But I'm thinking to myself, this is a parent who's probably not with a calm endocannabinoid system. This person is not balanced. This person is on edge. Their nervous system is out of control. Like they are not calm. If that was a mama who had just popped an edible for getting on that flight, 'cause that's what I do every time I go anywhere with my children. I would be like, oh baby, why didn't you tell me? Where was I? Like it wouldn't be me attacking a child for making a decision that a child shouldn't even really have to make. And thank goodness for my flight attendant friend for helping your baby, because your baby could have used the bathroom in the seat on herself. Like, and it's just like, I think that like with this plant, it allows us the perspective of seeing like, you're a child, I'm a parent. Like, and don't put shame on your kids. Like, don't put like, whatever negativity on your kids. Like for us, we see our kids, like we see them as what they are, which is a child still growing and learning the world. But like, I think that when you don't have that perspective, when you're not taking that time to sit, because that's what you really get when you do have cannabis, you get a moment to sit, you get a moment to think, you get a moment to like, when you think, you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have said that to my kid, and you go back, you say, I'm sorry, or whatever. But when you don't do that, and you're just going, it's like that kid gets like lost in the shuffle. And so it's just like, thank goodness for plants. Cause like you said, it calms everybody in that environment. And if you're at peace, your child's at peace, your home's at peace, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. It's definitely a domino effect. But like, if you're not at peace, if you're like slamming back shots and you're amped, then like your kid's probably going to be amped. Like, it's like, it's there, you set the precedent in your home. Yeah. And so for me, I'll tell anybody, look, girl, if you want a little sleep, here's this, don't tell nobody, put a couple of drops of that seed and watch your child. Like, because what works for one mom, one baby may not work for yours, but that's with everything. That's with like melatonin and stuff. People love melatonin. Well, I hate melatonin.
It has really bad side effects, and you're not supposed to use like that often.
And people give it to their babies all the time, give it to their
Yeah.
toddlers. I'm like, melatonin gives me like hangovers the next day. Like I feel
Mhm.
like I've been drugged or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't like that. But
Yeah.
like people do
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, but you won't give your kid a little CBD, which has no psychoactive effects at all.
Yeah.
Right.
But you will notice a difference. Your toddler will go from having a meltdown a day to having like none. And you'll be like, what just happened? It's the CBD, sis. Like they were, it's literally, it's like, I think about when I take CBD, I don't have as many meltdowns. Like I'm chill. I'm like, oh, okay, dang, that fucking sucks. But like, I'm good. Like I'm not high, but I'm just like, no
Honestly,
anxiety.
when I can get my hands on them 40-1 Care by Design.
40-1. Oh my God, that's the one.
Eat like
That's
I
the
am
one.
out here like, look, you know what? This traffic is gonna traffic.
A
and
nice
I'm gonna
high
go ahead and
CBD.
let it. You know
Hello.
what? This dinner is gonna dinner.
Like, dang, I
It's
missed
gonna
my
be-
flight. You know what? Wow, that really
That's
sucks.
why they
but
got more of.
you know what? Like, this is a big airport. When's the next one flying out? You know, like it's like,
It just
why
does.
sweat the small stuff?
gives
You know,
you
let
that.
it roll off your back. Like CBD, I feel like it lets everything roll off your back. So with kids, when everything seems so big and like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I miss Bluey, and it's like, girl, it's gonna come on again in 1 hour. But like having that CBD, it's not there. Your kids aren't like zoinked out, but they're
No.
definitely like they're balanced.
Yeah.
And I think that we as parents, it's our job to help them find that balance,
Mhm.
to guide them so that they're not overstimulated. I notice that if I have the TV on and I'm playing music in the other room, like babies and kids
It's a
feel
lot.
that. That's
Mhm.
they're like,
Yes.
wait, and like they melt down
Yeah.
because like we're doing the most and they just got here and they don't want to do the most. But like I think that is just like really beautiful. And so I tell people all the time, I'm like, get some CBD in your house. Like even if like CBD baths for your baby, getting like nice little balms. I used to rub my baby's back with it after I give him a
that's
bath.
a good idea.
And I was like, give him a little baby massage and I go in circles and they'd be smiling. I'd be like, I'm the best mama and you know I am because I'm giving you a CBD massage. But like just taking care and pampering baby in that way and relaxing their little bodies. It's amazing. I still do it for my daughter because like little kids, they be out playing rough. They will literally run into a wall and like
bounce right back.
keep going. And I'm like, oh my God, did you see that? And so like when it's bath time, I'm like, let me just come here and like rub you with some CBD because I know your body hurts. You need a little. So I think that like there's beauty in that and like just seeing our kids as like little people that like we're literally guiding. We're literally like helping them along and like this plant can help both of us so that we're giving them a head start.
Totally.
You know?
And the practice, I think, also of smoking has been an important thing in our household too. Is like, you know, my son will come out and be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Or like, we're doing our breathing
Always
exercises.
curious.
We're doing our breathing exercises, and like we just show him like you go in and you hold and you go out, you know. And so it's like kind of nice that there's also, you know, if he can know that breath is something that he can access. Maybe right now he's not going to be hitting the joint with mommy, but you know, if he can get in the practice of that too, there's benefit in that breathing as well. And that makes it kind of also a nice experience because breathing is something that, you know, our children can learn to remember. And I notice like in peak tantrum or in peak like upsetness, if I just breathe in that way and like stay with the breath and like do my like inhalations, that when he does it, like he can come down. And you're like, this is why mommy does what she does.
Yes.
Because I need to do this too sometimes.
Oh my gosh, girl, come on and rationalize it for the baby so he can get it. I love that.
That's exactly like we do like the breathing. I do.
You guys do the 5-finger breathing? That's what I do as well.
Oh.
It's like so you go.
Oh, how fun.
And like it goes up and down with the finger so she gets it.
Oh, wow.
See,
I
that's
love
a good idea.
that.
We had to
gotta
do
pair
like,
it up with
we had
the
to
body.
do smell the flower.
Blow
out the candle. Because they
I
couldn't
love
figure
that
out
one.
breathing in and out.
love
And so
that
I was
one.
like, we had
Yeah.
to do that. And so now we just
I
stuck
learned
with
that one from a
but
child
that's
care
how they-
educator, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, so now that's kind of
I love
like,
that.
it's really nice whenever my daughter's in. I didn't realize the 4-year-olds were quite as emotional as they were. But lots of things are very big. And so it's so nice being able to just bring her in and and then when I do it,
and she feels you.
it makes her, it's a kind of
Yeah.
like, that's her sign, like, oh yes, if I breathe.
Co-regulation.
Yes, yes.
And it
Good for all
starts
of us.
young.
It's
It
good for
starts
all of
young.
us.
I mean,
like,
co-regulation's like the first love language. I mean, that's as soon as
And
baby's
it's
there, you just
crazy,
put them
like,
right
how
on.
you don't like I didn't realize how much things, like how many things that cannabis helped me with, like co-regulation or just things like that I didn't realize that it was helping me to do, or like people are, like it helped me to sit with things, to process, to just things that I was doing. And then now that everything's on social media, I'm like, wait, oh, that's what that's called? I think I do that. Oh shit, and it's like something that I do because of cannabis. It's something because I have that time and that space to go inward and, say like, oh wait, okay. It's just so nice. Like cannabis.
So how do you
many
talk,
facets, I love
talk
it.
to your kids about it? Like, what's that conversation like? Like,
I mean, I have a 4 and a 7-year-old, so we have had the conversation, and like I showed my son on cannabis drinks specifically because I'm really into those. I was like, look, this little triangle with an exclamation point and this cannabis leaf means it's not for you.
Yeah.
Like it could make you sick, like, so this isn't something that you can have. And with my daughter, like they see on my clothes, obviously,
Everything has weed leaves
so
on
they
it.
know that that's a cannabis leaf. Like we were driving down the street, rolled by 64 in Hope, and Debray was just like, "Oh, there's a cannabis leaf on that store," And I was like, "Yes, because that's where they sell cannabis." But I'm like, so they know, we've had, it's a normal thing. It's just like, like I've never been one to hide anything, like I'm just always like, so that's what it is, Again, my mom passed away. What you gonna do? You gonna tell my mom? No.
You got the volcano on the nightstand,
right?
So.
I'm out here, and it's bedazzled and beautiful. It's
It is cute. I love yours. Yours is very nice, but like, it's not.
Yeah, so
it's not a secret. But is it just a California mom thing? Like, can only California moms be open with their kids?
So
part of it.
I feel like it's easier because I don't have this fear of like retaliation or like I feel
the paranoia is half the problem.
It's more socially acceptable in California.
Yeah.
It's been legal here for a really long time.
For a minute, yeah.
And like even in like when we lived in Chicago, like I was really open about my use, but of course I wasn't a mom, so I don't know how that would have shifted. But it is also just like the legality of it has never mattered to me because I'm like, no, y'all fucked up when I found out the whole reason that we can't have this plan is because of racism. And really that's what it boils down to. Like the only reason it's on the list and schedule and this and that is racism. And for me, that was a really powerful green light.
It's a green light for you.
No,
fuck these guys.
Yeah, like y'all don't know what you're talking about because what I've seen growing up, you know what I mean? Just like growing up and being in a Black family, it's like, yeah, there's been cannabis around, smoking a blunt at the Omega's family picnic every year. You know what I mean? Like it's always been around. So I never believed it's gonna ruin your life. It's the worst thing ever.
Right.
Like, I feel
but
like
if you're like, so a lot of parents say like they're scared to tell their kids because if you live in a legal state, what will your kids say when they leave the house?
Yeah. How do you?
Yeah,
that's
but
the breathing exercises
that?
thing that I was taught was like, oh, mommy's just doing her breathing exercises.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's when you come up with not necessarily codes, but
like
different ways.
I've heard wizard smoke. I've had
exactly.
We got
something
slang
to protect yourself.
Yeah,
because you don't want, like, nobody wants to worry about that kind of attention and things. And I feel emboldened too, just because like as someone who has a white husband, I feel a little more like system doesn't really fuck with white people. Like I know they do. I know the system does.
Yeah.
It does. I'm sorry, white people. I
but
love
he got
you.
the complexion for the protection. So
complexion for the protection for real.
Complexion for the protection.
It does feel that way. Like,
I heard that from a friend, and I was like, "That's perfect. That's exactly it."
Complexion for the protection. I've never heard that. I'm sorry, it's like taking me out right now.
That's a good one. That might be in my next
Thank you, Reggie.
set.
Thank you, Reggie. We gotta give open hyphy. Thank you.
But yeah, I think that adds, and I do like, I recently, like probably a year ago or so, was like, oh shit, let me lock my shit up. Because for a long time, I was just keeping it in the same spot. My kids know not to fuck with it, but it's like, wait a minute, what if somebody calls somebody on me? Let me go ahead and just make sure I'm doing shit right. So now it's like, just make sure that you take that extra step of protecting yourself, you know, and make sure that if you are going to talk to your children and you're in an illegal state, yes, maybe euphemisms might be a good way to come up with it. Or for a long time when my kids were little, it was mommy's medicine or mommy's plant. So that was for a long, you know, so that's another thing that you could do. But yeah, I definitely think you got to be careful out here because it's so hard. Like, you know, I had my little jury duty today, and it's hard because the justice system isn't always so just. And like, literally, the judge was like, "All right, we have the best justice system in the world." And my eyes almost rolled into the back of my head when he said it. I was like, "Oh Lord, please don't let me get in trouble in this courtroom today. Let me just be quiet."
He's trying me,
being like,
but it's definitely like one of those things where you have to be like, you do have to be careful, you know. And I'm like hyper aware, like raising Black kids. I'm a Black woman. Like, no matter how educated I am or how, you know, attractive you might find me, you know, it's still one of those things where it's like, ma'am. And I'm be like, sir. I've been waiting for this. You got the wrong one today because I'm the girl who will fight you all the way to the way. Yeah. But like, they don't know that when they meet you. But my whole thing is, if you're just somebody who doesn't want that smoke, like you don't want all the smoke, like you don't want no drama, like you can't. I wouldn't advise hiding it from your kids. No. I would never, no matter where you live, because that shit backfires.
And it could,
build resentment, but also in an unconscious way, you're saying that you have some sort of shame
and
around
that is a bad thing.
And that's a bad thing that you, exactly. And it's like, okay, well, like if you've been hiding it for 12 years, like maybe it is bad, right? So it's like, you do have to be open, but I think that you're right. The conversation evolves. Like it starts off with maybe euphemisms and saying like wizard smoke and mommy's medicine and like my plant medicine and whatever other stuff you want, whatever like fairy tales we want to put around it. But as they get of age, then that conversation does need to get a little bit more real and a little bit more like, you know, I've had parents who have said this so well, and I love this. It's just like, there are certain things we talk about at home, and there's certain things we don't talk about at home, right? Like, you know, at home we can talk about farting, and you can fart openly, and you can burp on me, and like, you know, you can lift up your shirt and show me your belly. But like when we're in a restaurant, like maybe we are not farting, right? Like maybe we're not, you know, maybe we're not lifting up our shirts and walking around like, look at my belly. Yeah, like maybe we're not. I mean, maybe you could, but like, depends on the restaurant vibe. Like, I don't know if I want to see people's bellies in the restaurant. I'm like, hey, this is cute. The food is good, but let's like, you know, so it's like at home things and not at home things. And like, so like, this is a not at home thing. Like, this is something we only talk about here, you know, like we don't talk about our private body parts when we're not at home, right? We're going to have these conversations at home where we're safe and where we're with people that love us and that we trust, right? So like establishing that and not framing in a way of fear where it's like, what happens in this house stays in this house, because that's different. So we want to like make sure that we're like still talking about it, but being like mindful about how those conversations are going, right? And so, but I think that so many parents just struggle overall with talking about the tough things. And I'm just like, girl, you got like 18 years of really tough conversations. You better figure this one out, because this is not the first.
So you might as well get used to it. Yeah.
And kids will forgive us if we fuck it up. Like if we say it wrong, like we can always say, you know what, I misspoke. Actually, you know, like that for whenever my mom actually makes mistakes, I feel like that's when she's most human. Like when she just says like, hey, you know what, girl, actually, yes. Like you have to be able to talk to your kids. And so there's so many parents where I've spoken to on the podcast and just in DMs, and they've been like, you know, my son is 12. I think he might know I knows I smoke weed, but I've never had the conversation. Honey,
he already knew.
He knew like 5 years ago.
And the openness afforded to families when you're open with your kids about that means openness for other things too.
Yes, talking about consent, talking
weed
about
is the gateway drug to deeper conversations,
talking about sex, talking about like,
because if they can trust you with that,
it just feels like if you can build that trust and that like you're being open with me, you're showing me this,
you're showing me who you are.
And
kids just want to know us.
And honestly, if you're in an illegal state, that's like a really big bonding point to say like, okay, so this is why I do this, but this is why we can only talk about it at home, you know. So this is like
Like on the
I'm really,
DL,
you're
like,
helping, you're helping
like
me out here.
equipping
You're really
the militia to like support your vision.
And then you can really say like, look, this is how we can get into this and that and the other. And but yeah, I just think openness is so nice. Like having those conversations and like just being open because they know everything.
Yeah.
They know everything.
And
Especially
so
these
you just
kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, they know my daughter will just hop on the phone and like do things. Like she's not allowed to watch YouTube, and she'll like be watching YouTube on the iPad.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I just deleted the app, but your baby's probably so smart she can just read-download.
She's 8, like she can spell now, she can read, like she's figuring it out. So it's like,
and this phone, like, no, hold on.
She's like watching it, and because it was like really quiet, and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Go in her room. She's like, I'm like, give it here. So I pull it up, and she's closed out of the app, right? Obviously, but she doesn't know about multitasking. So I go double click. So you were watching YouTube, and she's like, Mama, how do you know everything? And I'm like, sis. And I didn't tell her about the multitasking because I'm like, but now she knows about it. So now she just closes all apps immediately.
You just equipped her. These kids evolve. They get smart.
They evolve so fast.
They learn your tricks. You don't need to do more.
But I'm always 50 million steps ahead of her. She's just like, Mama, how do you know everything? I'm like, girl, been there, done that, and I'm a journalist.
You're not. I've heard everyone else has been there, done that too.
Yeah, it's like, and I talk to everybody else. Like, I know all the tricks, sis. But
it's nice trading stories with other moms too, because I'm just like,
look at me. Oh my gosh. I'm going to burn myself.
Well, and it's just so cool to see how similar all our kids are. Like when I'm in Mushroom Temple and like you're telling me a story and I see my kid and I see them. And it's just beautiful because it's like learning how everyone responded and approached was really different. And that's what I love about hearing the approaches of like Canna moms and mushroom moms. I'm like, how did you deal with that problem?
Yeah.
I want to know, because they're ingenious ways.
They're so smart. But you know what? I think that like, again, weed makes it so that I'm not sweating that. Like, I'm like, a kid is going to kid. Yeah. Like, she's just going to, it's testing boundaries. Everything's a little power play. Like, everything's about power. I'm just realizing, especially as they get older and like that independence.
And hella negotiating all the time.
Hella negotiation. But like, also just letting them like, I just want to see how clever you are. I really want to push that brain of yours. I really want you to always try to get me. Cause like I was always trying to get my mom, but like, and I did, like I forged a lot of stuff. We're gonna delete that part. But like there's, I love that. Like I don't get offended. Like weed helps keep me chill as fuck. I'll be like, dang, like I'm about to look out for you in a few years, bro. Like you're definitely one to watch instead of being angry and like, because it may be bringing up stuff that I haven't resolved about myself, because your kids are a mirror to you at the end of the day. And like, if you're not resolving and healing things on your own, then you probably would be triggered when your kid does that thing that you don't like about you. Like now you're yelling at them because you're really yelling at yourself. Because you don't like yourself, but we're not going to talk about that. So,
or you have terrible coping mechanisms and skills because they weren't modeled to you in your childhood. And that's what's so beautiful is like we get to change how kids are parented in our whole family line. Yeah, like you set the precedent. It doesn't just like start going backwards out of nowhere. Yeah, like we progressively
and then that's what everyone learns and knows and holds on to.
And like that's what the central nervous system even like expects out of life. Yeah, I saw a video of a chameleon being born, and I was like, I never saw it before. And they're kind of tall too, so it just like fell, and then as soon as it fell, it grabbed on the tree and just started going. It was like the chameleon just like duplicated itself. And that's like what human children can like on an animal level, they just mimic their environment, the space, the place. So it's just like beautiful how instinctual it is to low-key feel good. And I feel like cannabis can like create environments where like that continuum isn't broken. I also read a book too. Sorry, I'm going like mom shit, but I read a book about baby wearing, and I know baby wearing became a fad, just like I think Cannamom is becoming kind of a fad too. And it's like, but we've been always doing this. This is part of our ancestry. Like this is part of how we've evolved to raise kids. Like this is not interesting. Like it's just how things go for us.
It is,
And the baby wearing was like really beautiful to see how we don't have like hair for the babies to grab. Or like they can't latch to us, so we must latch to them. They're like born expecting that. And so when that shit breaks down, like that carrying breaks down, it changes the dynamic a lot, you know? And so carrying children, like it got fad, you know, it's a fad, but this is, I mean, I'm going this way like I always do, but it's an ancestral practice. And in my research that I did for the EMOM guide, the entheogenic earth medicine assisted motherhood guide, I looked at research about cannabis moms in Jamaica because this has been an ancestral plant in Jamaica for a very, very long time. Yeah, those beautiful studies of just showing how it didn't make a significant difference, like gestational age or weight or anything, but they noticed a benefit in the social life of the mom. And that led to better quality of life.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's beautiful because like, what are we doing right now?
Yeah, we're having a good ass time with weed, like, and we're gonna go back to home our babies, and we're gonna be in a good ass mood, and we're gonna be like having a good ass time. Angie, do you want to have a puff of this?
I'm good. Okay. I had my weekenders over here. I let it go out because I just
we didn't talk about a lot of things.
Would you like a puff?
I'm good, Mama. Okay. Thank you. We didn't talk about a lot of things that we were supposed to talk about today, but I'm glad we like went where we went.
Yeah,
it was more about like parenting styles.
I want to talk about like one last thing. Let's talk about psychedelics a little bit and like how it's helped you in your motherhood journey. And I just want to talk about it because I just had an experience with mushrooms, and it was like, I think it was my first experience of the year. And which is crazy because like the year's halfway over.
Yes, it is.
But damn, that happened fast. But we I had that experience while on vacation. And
where'd you go?
I went to France, and
those pictures.
Yes. And I was in the south of France, and I was having such a good time in the city, and I felt very safe like immediately, which is weird because I'd never been there before and I was by myself, but like I felt really good. And I took the shrooms, and like I made a tea, and I sipped the tea, and I like said a like silent prayer before I had it, and like.
Did you journey at your place there? Were you by yourself? Were you outside?
I was by myself. I was like just in the living room area, sat down, had the tea, and then like went out on the balcony, watched like the sea like come in, like the tides crash, and like laid in bed and like listened to music and like journaled.
Solo
and,
journeys
like,
are just the best, girl.
Looked in the mirror and saw things that like I hadn't seen, and like fell in love with myself, fell in love with my life. Started to like, I just had it was like, damn. I was like, damn, I love my life. Damn, I'm happy to be alive. Like, 10, damn, I'm happy to be here. Like, damn, I'm happy I planned this trip and I saw it through, and I'm here, and it's all for me. And I get to go to sleep tonight, and it's all for me. And I get to wake up whenever the fuck I want to in the morning.
Experience.
Yes. And I said, wow, I prayed for this, and like it's here, and I'm present. Like, what a blessing to like be in the moment and actually be feeling it, not be going through the motions, but like I was in it, like, and I felt so alive. And so I was like, shit, mushrooms do that. I'm back from this vacation, and I'm a way better mom. Like I'm so present for these kids. Like it makes no fucking sense. Like, I gotta hug my son and my daughter like deep now, like deeper. And I know it's because of this mushroom experience that I had 2 weeks ago. And I'm still feeling it, you know, like it's, man, like when I see my kids now, like I see them. It's only something that this psychedelic, you know, whatever you want to call it, psilocybin, magic mushrooms, shrooms, like that gave me that. And like, if I never did it again, like I would feel like that was enough. Cause I got everything I needed. I wrote a journal entry that was like deep. There's more that I could say, but I definitely want you guys to speak as well. But like every time I take it, I feel like I get closer to myself, but I have to be ready to make that movement, you know? And so it's like a calling. And like, I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, now Marseille will always be in my heart. Like I might have to name my next child Marseille, because like, how did I feel so safe in this foreign country, in this city I've never been, to do this? People were like, why did you pick this place? Why did you go to that city? I felt called. It was like a calling. And then doing the shrooms, I'm just like, I'm a hippie dippy chick.
Yourself.
Yes.
You were you. You didn't have kids. You didn't have any issue. You were you.
I wasn't working.
And
I was just
opened the door to just for you to really come to the surface and see. It's almost like when you're living your day-to-day life, you're buried inside yourself.
Oh.
And when you go on vacation and you're by yourself, you can come to the surface and be like, wait a minute.
Because
I
what you did for your
life
birthday.
for myself. Exactly. Like, look at all this 40 years that I've been doing. Oh, and I'm fabulous in this other country. Okay, let me go back home and be fabulous too.
Yes.
It just really opens you up to see like how far you've come and what you've done. And you know, like that's mushrooms help with that. The psychedelics help to get to excavate and do, you know, I personally, I have to figure out the dosing, but microdoses are wonderful.
Oh, yes.
For just adding some.
How long have you been microdosing?
I started in February of this year. That was the first time that I ever like really tried different things. And I think that I need to find my groove, because I tried like a mushroom, like a chocolate bar.
They vary.
And that was not, I was just like, I feel like my body's drunk, but my head isn't. Like, so that wasn't fun. Yeah. But I think maybe I need to, like,
I would love to talk to you after the show.
More, like, have a different experience and have a different environment and set up something. Because I think that does matter. And I think the environment and the setting and all of that matters a lot.
Absolutely.
And, like, being prepared. Whereas I was just like, oh, okay, tonight I'll try this. Like, see what happens, you know? Like, and it was, like, normally I would just take an edible and like sit on the couch.
Well, you have a relationship with cannabis because you've had so much experience. So you just have to like build those
maybe
memories.
I'll do that. And I'm like, wait, but this isn't something that you do that with. This is something that you do something different with. And I'm not prepared to do something different right now. So
but now you know.
You just gotta learn.
So now
that's
it's
the best way to
like a learning process.
Build relationship is through experiences. And Shonitria, like, I'm in tears for your story.
What?
Truly. Well, because I've been there. I felt that like feeling of like joy in every cell in my body and like gratitude and like importance. Like this moment is so significant and like it's all kind of crescendoing to this and like healing through joy and like positivity and gratitude is just so, I mean, I was like, damn, you could just end the podcast like with your fucking story because like what, and you asked the question, like, what has this medicine done for you? And I feel like all of that shows up in the stories that people have. I mean, like you can make it what you want it to mean for you, but the change that we can see in people's lives are a testament to like what this medicine helps us do. And I was with you, girl, like while you were describing what you're doing and you're journaling and it's just like being in that space. It's just, it brings up this kind of like group enthusiasm. I don't know what to call it, but like even hearing someone else get well and have a healing experience like helps others. You know, it's like, so the most altruistic substance I've ever come in contact with and altruistic, just wants to help you. And what I really think for me is not how to be a good human, but like how to become more like a mushroom, you know, and all the ways that they are and how they relate to each other in such beautiful ways. Like they just share information. They just from one part of the forest to the other. And like, that's what we eventually, I mean, I'm like 9 years in to my relationship. As you know,
love that. I love that.
It's just like what you said about, every time you sit with it, that you get closer to who you truly are and like your authentic self. And what a beautiful thing to like walk towards something and realize like the thing that you've always been is like perfect and fine and whole. And like, it's wow, there's no other spaces in the world, I think, that offer you that kind of perspective. And the way that it's like assisted in parenting for me, I think I told the story already on the other podcast about like that fear that I had, you know, when I was pregnant, like I got to work through a very serious fear associated with my pregnancy because of a powerful mushroom journey. And I was able to have like a beautiful birth and like accomplish this like very challenging feat, even though I was like so afraid something bad might happen. And I feel like a lot of moms come into the birthing space and they don't have the space to do that emotional and spiritual work. So that a lot of those things get worked out like at the birth or in early motherhood and like the pressures and, you know, the raising of the child that, you know, it's amazing to imagine that it can be preventatively helpful too, you know, and that's just like honestly my thesis on like psilocybin and like earth medicine with motherhood is we have a history with these medicines for a reason. You know what I mean? And like, if we're going to talk about human evolution exploding because of contact with psilocybin mushrooms, because it was helping the hunters, and I was like, well, what about the gatherers? You know, like, what about the people keeping culture at home, like in the space where it really matters, with the presence of generation after generation to care for? So I trust that, you know, that was deeply influenced by the mushroom. And so when we come back to that, we can actually come back to, I think, better ways of parenting. But that's just me. That's what's helped me tremendously. So, you know, just your story, I'm like, I just want to sit with mushrooms again pretty soon.
Yes, right? I was like, I took it and I was like, I'm going to be good on this for a while, because I'm going to need to sit with this for a while, and it's going to unfold more
as
and
far
more.
as not coming back in again and just letting that unfold. It makes sense.
Yeah, and just letting it, because that was a time, and I'm like, that was a moment. That was like, it's like imagining like the best sex of your life, but not sex. It's just like that explosion within, and like the ramifications and the days that came, and like how that influenced the rest of my trip. Where I was just, I trusted myself so much. And I was just like, it's okay, girl.
Wow.
Like, you got yourself this far. It's okay. You got this. And like, if I hadn't had that moment, I think my trip would have been totally different, you know, and like just not only my trip, but like my trip, like, you know, like all of it. And it's just like,
that's a short film.
Yeah, it's for real. And I'm just like, damn, like, how dare I bring psilocybin into France and then take it?
You were guided.
Something was like, girl, it's okay. Nobody's going to be checking for that. But like, it felt so right. I was just like, damn, like, I'm so glad I did this. And
you sat for yourself.
Yeah.
People charge a lot of money to do what you just did for yourself.
Yes. It was beautiful. I had like, I had some realizations that like blew my mind. I had to write it down. I was like, write this down. Where's your journal? Because I came prepared. Like you said, you have to have the thing.
Yeah.
So I had my journal. I had the music that I wanted to listen to. I was like, okay, I can put on a trippy little thing on the YouTube, like, and pull that up in case I want to look at something. Okay, go out to the balcony. Okay, make sure you have a glass ready. Maybe you want to drink a little water out of a wine glass. And like,
the whole setting.
Just like, it was magical. And I think that like a lot of people are not ready for that, and a lot of people don't want that. And so for some people that sounds crazy and weird, and for other people it's like, wow, that sounds like something I'm interested in. And when it feels like that for you, then explore that more, research it more, and figure out how you can make that happen. Who do you need to talk to? You know, reach out to Mikaela.
My whole life is just talking about this.
Like it can be a life changer. And I was telling my friend about it, and she was asking me all these questions, and I was just like,
then you think like a baby educator. Let's go.
You
know,
know,
good.
and she was still just kind of like, I don't know. And I'm like, you know, when you feel it, you definitely will know. And it's not pushing it. But I told her, I was like, I don't want people to feel like they need to take magic mushrooms if they are going through depression or postpartum depression like I was, you know. I want you to know that it's an option. That's all. Like, you don't have to. That was a good quiet sneeze.
That was a sneeze. I thought it was like a yawn.
I perfected my sneezes because Caden was really bad at like sleeping. He would wake up at the slightest noise, so I just learned to be really quiet with everything. I was just like he would be.
Is that okay for your body?
He would be like on the boob, and I would just be like, let me keep it.
But I just want people to know that like it's an option, just like cannabis is an option, just like you know, a lot of other psychedelics are options. Like, I just want it to be put on the table. When you go see the doctor and you say that I have this, and, you know, and they say, well, I think you have that. I want them to present the pill option, the plant option. I want all the options instead of saying, well, this pill is it.
This pill
pays
me money.
I'm like, your medicine isn't very colorful.
Yeah, you know, like give me that option and then let me make the decision, but don't make the decision for me. And that's all I want is for parents and especially moms to be able to make the decision themselves after being presented with all the information.
Yeah. Informed consent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And not a suggestion, an option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. So, all right, you guys, this has been a great conversation. Let me tell you something. Once I start smoking the weed, I start talking more. But this has been so dope. Thank you guys so much for coming and joining. Do you guys have like any last parting words that you want to add, and how can people reach you?
You can check me out at my website, highlycrafty.com, or follow me on Instagram at highlyangie. Come to a comedy show if you're in LA.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for creating culture here. You know what I
Oh.
mean? And like normalizing and doing the good work of I just want to thank everyone who's even listening to the podcast right now for like breaking conventions, you know, and like excavating yourself, society. I feel like psychedelics and entheogens and all the earth medicines touch almost like every single topic in our world, from like politics to environmentalism to parenting. Like, so if we're going to be tackling this, like, I'm just so happy we're doing this together, you know, because it touches everything, these medicines. It brings it all home. So my name is Mikaela Delamico. I'm mushwomb.love and at Mama Delamico. And what an honor it is, what a privilege it is to just sit and not have to be afraid that we're smoking weed together.
Yes.
That's the world y'all made. So
Yes.
thank you.
I'm so like, thank you guys so much for taking the time out and for chatting with me. And I know that like mamas are going to be so grateful for this conversation and hearing our stories, and we'll take comfort in that. And I appreciate y'all. So thank you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Cannamom Roundtable. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, review, share with a friend. Go to bluntblowingmama.com for workshops on pregnancy, on breastfeeding, on talking to your kids, on sex, and all the things with cannabis. Like, look, I got it all covered. And Mikaela has another episode of the podcast that you should definitely tap into. I'm going to bring Angie back on the show.
Yes.
Can you have, yes.
You're just like a dream. Thank you.
Yes. And like, this is, and follow them please on Instagram. They're both like amazing. You're going to get some really good stuff on your feed with these follows. So thank you guys so much again for joining. And until next time, bye.